everyone, and welcome to The Foundry by Forge College. I'm your host, and I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's explainer. In our previous lesson, we tackled scaling and real-world deployment considerations, really getting our smart contracts ready to face the wild open network. Well, today, we're focusing on a critical milestone in your capstone project for the comprehensive token sale implementation. We're talking about peer review, feedback, and iteration. This is the exact moment where we make sure your code doesn't just work in theory, but is actually hardened for reality.
All right, let's take a quick look at the agenda for today. First up, welcome to the stress test. Then, prepping the inspection bench, followed by the two-pass code review. After that, we'll cover building the comparison table, fixing and verifying updates, and finally, final assembly preparation.
Welcome to the stress test, preparing your code for the engineering laboratory.
So we are treating your code from the previous lesson basically like a newly assembled machine that just got dropped off at the lab. We aren't just looking at isolated single functions anymore, right? We're inspecting the entire assembled beast. This integration-ready project increment includes literally everything you've built so far. The whitelist management, those complex vesting schedules, the sale orchestration, it's all connected now. And that means we have to rigorously test how all of these components interact under intense pressure.
I always love sharing this quote because, humor aside, deploying untested code is exactly like testing a screen door on a submarine. I mean, it sounds like a joke, but skipping this rigorous peer review means you are deploying vulnerabilities that can literally sink your entire project and drain the funds. And as we all know, in Web3, there are absolutely no takebacks once that code is live.
Section 2. Prepping the inspection bench, gathering tools and running automated diagnostics.
Okay, so step 1, we pull all our deliverables together. This means gathering your integration branch, the test suite, and the deployment checklist. Then for step 2, we bring in the robots to find the obvious surface cracks. We run automated tools like solhint or slither to catch syntax errors or any known vulnerability patterns. Honestly, it's a lot like running an electronic diagnostic scan on a car before you even bother popping the hood.
Now, what's really interesting here is how all your previous hard work is serving as the direct acceptance criteria for today's review. You aren't inventing new rules out of thin air. You're just holding your current code accountable to the exact standards, checklists, and risk registers that you explicitly defined back in lessons 1 and 2.
Section 3, the two-pass code review, wearing different hats for manual inspection.
There is a massive difference between hunting for malicious vulnerabilities and making sure the mechanical gears of your code actually mesh together. In the security focus pass, you are actively playing the attacker. You're trying to break the system. You look hard at owner-only functions, reentrance vulnerabilities, and weird edge cases. Then you completely switch hats for the integration focus pass. This is where you verify that the modules are actually talking to each other correctly without dropping any critical data along the way. During these manual passes, you are going to heavily focus on invariance. A refund flow invariant is essentially a strict mathematical rule that must absolutely always hold true. When students in Forge College's broader applied Solidity programs encounter this concept, it's usually a light bulb moment. They realize that maintaining invariance is the ultimate safety net for complex token flows. For example, the total tokens sold plus the tokens available must always equal the total supply, period, even if 50 people just requested a partial refund at the exact same time.
Section 4. Building the comparison table, documenting the defects and mapping the remediation.
Once we find the issues, and trust me on this, you will find issues, we need a highly organized blueprint to fix them. Our primary deliverable here is a machine-readable comparison table artifact. It maps out exactly what broke, how to patch it, the estimated effort required, and how it impacts your deployment readiness. This right here is the heart of professional engineering. You aren't just waving your hand saying, hey, it's broken. You're systematically cataloging the defect, assigning it a severity level like critical or major, and proposing a tangible, actionable fix.
And your magic number for this particular step is 8. Your final prioritized review report must list at least 8 review items. To ensure you're really digging deep enough into the code, this has to include at least 2 items specifically related to refund flows and 1 related to vesting edge cases. We really want a comprehensive top-to-bottom sweep of your token sale mechanics.
Section 5. Fixing and verifying updates, applying patches and retesting the machine.
So you've identified the critical flaws, and you've documented them perfectly. Now you pull out the wrench and implement the top priority fixes in your review branch. But that brings up literally the scariest question in all of software engineering. You fixed the bugs, but did you break everything else in the process? This is exactly why we must rigorously retest the entire system after applying our patches. Fixing a reentrancy guard might accidentally lock out legitimate users if you aren't super careful.
Let's step into this final mechanical loop. In step 5, you implement the fixes for your critical and major items only. Don't get distracted by minor formatting tweaks right now. Then, in step 6, you retest with the full test suite. You write new tests that specifically reproduce the failure you just fixed, you verify the static analyzers are totally clean, and you update your deployment checklist with the new verification steps.
Section 6. Final assembly preparation. Validating the milestone before final deployment.
Before we can finally sign off on this engineering blueprint, we have a mandatory checkpoint to clear. To build our ultimate safety net, we have 3 validation tracks, and only when all 3 are completely green is your capstone ready to move forward. First, documentation traceability ensures that every single issue links to a reproducible test. Second, test and CI validation confirms all tests pass with 0 new critical errors. And finally, review completeness guarantees that every critical issue has an assigned owner and a strict deadline.
The crucial takeaway here is that these artifacts objectively prove that the top risks have been mitigated. Peer review isn't just bureaucratic paperwork you do to pass a class, okay? It's a strict, undeniable engineering contract between you and your reviewers that proves your comprehensive token sale capstone is robust, secure, and fully ready for the real world.
So I'll leave you with this. Are your top risks mitigated enough to begin the final token sale assembly? Look at your artifacts. Look at your test logs. If you deploy tomorrow and $1 million flows into your contract, will you sleep soundly, or will you be lying awake wondering if you missed a single line of code? That absolute peace of mind is exactly what today's rigorous testing buys you. I highly encourage you to visit forge.college to explore more Web3 learning and master these vital skills. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go break your code before the open network does it for you.